good evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. It is coming to you live from our studio here at Adesawe Kanda in Accra and also streaming on our website 3news.com. Coming up this evening, Coalition of Trade and Freight Forwarders Association declare a 4-day nationwide boycott of port activities in protest against the deployment of a new Publican AI system at the ports. Also in the bulletin, the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, issues a 14-day ultimatum to government to remove the Director-General of the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC, Professor Abdulai Jinapor, and his deputy over alleged overstepping of their mandate. And later in the bulletin, government's free primary healthcare policy to cost the taxpayer 1.1 billion cedis annually. We have details as government prepares to launch the initiative later this week. My name is Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Before we delve into the details, let's bring you the other stories making headlines in Ghana in the summaries.
Thank you very much, Martin. And now a storm is brewing among national service personnel across Ghana as frustration reaches a boiling point over the prolonged delay in the payment of their allowances. The concerned National Service Personnel Association of Ghana has issued a strongly worded statement expressing outrage, describing the situation as unacceptable and a national disgrace. Away from that, the High Court has granted the request of lawyers for the former director of the National Service Authority, Osei Asibe, to report to the BNI office in Kumasi as part of his bail conditions. Osei Asibe, who faces multiple charges including stealing, using public office for profits, and money laundering in connection with the ghost names at the NSA, has pleaded not guilty to 21 fresh charges, including causing financial loss to the Republic of over 431.8 million Ghana cedis following the amended charges. Former Arsenal footballer Thomas Partey has pleaded not guilty to 2 new allegations of rape. The 32-year-old appeared at Southwark Crown Court on Monday, April 13, to deny twice raping a woman in London on a day in December 2020. The midfielder, who left Arsenal for Villarreal last summer, was charged in July last year with 5 counts of rape and 1 allegation of sexual assault dating back to 2021 and 2022. Finally, before we go, a new tracking poll by Global Info Analytics has revealed a rapidly tightening contest within the opposition, within the National Democratic Congress, with Finance Minister Kasila forcing emerging as a strong challenger to party chairman Johnson Asiedu-Dartey ahead of the 2028 flag bearer race. Now, the poll conducted between March 31 and April 9, 2026, among nearly 10,400 delegates across all 16 regions, shows Asiedu-Dartey maintaining the lead with 29% support. However, his once commanding advantage has narrowed significantly within a week. And we have all of this on our website, 3news.com. Do well to check it out. I am Christabel Success Trevor. Martin, over to you.
Thank you very much, Christabel. Let's now delve into the details of the stories we have for you tonight. And we're starting from the issues of trade concerns at Ghana's ports. The government initiative will begin in 150 underserved districts across the country. All right, so the Coalition of Trade and Freight Forwarders Association has declared a 4-day nationwide boycott of port activities in protest against the government's introduction of a new Publican artificial intelligence tool at the ports. The group says the system is disrupting trade operations, increasing the cost of doing business, and causing significant financial losses for importers and clearing agents. The government introduced the public trade solution as part of efforts to digitize port operations, improve efficiency, and boost revenue collection. However, the coalition cites several instances where the AI-driven charging system has sharply increased duties, some by as much as 300%, placing a heavy burden on businesses and slowing cargo clearance. The General Secretary of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, Paul Mensah, warns that the situation could worsen if authorities fail to engage stakeholders and address their concerns. He's been speaking in an interview with us.
Somebody bringing Toyota Voxy. The Voxy that they say shouldn't be commercially used, which I pay 69,000 cedis. Now it is 7,980,000 for the same Voxy. I pay 69,000. So if it is not a flaw, if it is not an error, and then they explain that the AI is not valuing vehicles. So which customs officer having gone through a training will sit down and value a car, a vehicle, a 7-seater vehicle, 7 million? There are so many of them, but they'll tell you, oh, these are just few. These are just few. If we are to bring those ones to you, you marvel. And if really there are few, how come the port is congested? We are taking for the coordinated strike action from tomorrow to Friday. Right after that, the traders will also bring their action for the following week, so that all this will continue till years are given to our issues. No duty.
Right, so that's the voice of Paul Mensah, who is the General Secretary of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders. The group also describes the boycott as an initial step, warning that further action could follow if their concerns are not addressed. They are also calling on government to suspend the system and initiate broader consultations with industry players. Meanwhile, there has been a development and following these latest news item. The Ghana Shippers Authority says the Ghana Union of Traders Association (GUTA) has agreed to suspend the full rollout of its planned trade action following a high-level meeting between key stakeholders. The meeting held at the Ghana Shippers Authority House in Accra on Monday, the 13th of April 2026, brought together GUTA leadership, freight forwarders, and Chief Executive Officer of the authority, Professor Ransford Jampo, to address concerns over the system. Following the discussions, GUTA agreed to hold off on the action to allow for further consultations, including a scheduled meeting with the Minister for Transport, Joseph Bukari Nikpe, later this week. Specifically, we are told that that meeting is likely to come off on Thursday. Let's now speak to Michael Obri-Eje, convener of the Coalition of Concerned Exporters and Importers and Traders. Mr. Obri-Eje, good evening. And Obri-Eje, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Good evening. Please, your voice is a little faint. I don't know if you could speak a little longer.
Right. Okay. I hope it is better now.
Yes, it is. Quite faint, but I would strain my voice.
Okay, I'll do well to increase it as well. But first of all, talk to us about the key challenges that you as exporters and importers are facing with the use of this AI that has been introduced. What really is the concern you have?
Thank you very much, Martin, and good evening to your cherished listening and to the trading community too. So the major or the concerns that we have, like we have repeatedly said, is that since the introduction of the Publican AI, we're beginning to see arbitrary values being churned out for us, the valuation, custom values being churned for us. And we have demonstrated things by showing examples on VUEs that have shown that, for instance, a Toyota Voxy wagon, which previously would have a duty of about 69,000 thereabouts, today has a duty of 7,900,000 Ghana cedis plus. That is clearly arbitrary. Microwaves that are duty high as 700 Ghana cedis. Flip-flops, bathroom slippers, the duties used to be somewhere around 100,000 Ghana cedis for 40.
Hello? We seem to have lost the connection to Michael Oburi-Ejay, the convener of the Coalition of Concerned Exporters, Importers and Traders. And he was just trying to give us a better understanding of what exactly the concerns they have regarding a new AI system that has been introduced at the port. Based on information we've been able to gather from the Ghana Revenue Authority, for instance, they say that this new AI system has increased revenue collection at the port by quite some significant amount. We'll try and get you the specifics regarding how much they were getting before the introduction of this artificial intelligence called the new Publican. And again, they, amongst other things, are blaming the high charges that this AI system is slapping on importers. And so beyond the fact that there are high charges, they are also raising concerns about the fact that broader consultation was not undertaken before the introduction. Let's see if we have a better connection now to my resource person, Michael Oburi-Ejay, convener of the Coalition of Concerned Exporters, Importers and Traders. Mr. Oburi-Ejay, thanks for rejoining the conversation. Yes, you were giving us a background to what the major concerns are.
Okay, so like I've mentioned, arbitrary values, and I'm saying that the mode in which the AI is generating values for us is clearly in contravention with our law at 891, where we have adopted both the WTO and the WTO regulations for calculating custom values. We've also raised concerns about the lack of clear SOPs for appeals when you have challenges. This, among other things, which after consistent appeals to the ministry to withdraw the AI, particularly because there was no consultation with stakeholders before the implementation, so that we can come together, help governments raise the revenue, but raise it in conformity with law, raise it in a manner that is not at the detriment of the trader and the Ghanaian community. Unfortunately, those concerns were not heeded until we decided to embark on an industrial action. And so that is what has brought us here today. And that's the reason why the traders, importers have instructed freight forwarders who clear their goods for them that they can no longer pay such arbitrary values. And to the extent that they cannot pay the values, the freight forwarders should not go to the port to clear the things for them. They should not go and pay duties on their behalf.
How long has this new AI system been in place? And prior to that, was everything better?
I mean, the system has been in place for the last. It was rolled out on the 12th of February. So I'd say a little above or a little over a month. Before this AI system came into place, obviously we had our little challenges within the port, but it wasn't as draconian as we are seeing. And people didn't have a lot of agitation like we are seeing today. So we'll say that it was operating like every other normal system that would have those one or two concerns that will be brought before policy makers, among others. But the introduction of the Publican AI changes the whole face or narrative totally.
Right, and just for purposes of clarity, was your association or importers and exporters, were you aware that government or such a system was being introduced?
So I think that the whole country was well aware because the minister sometime in November had intimated at the floor of Parliament that they were having considerations of introducing AI to the business of the port. So that was not in doubt that the minister or the ministry was going to do. What we are saying is that the nature and the form in which it was introduced, there was no consultation.
Right.
So yes, we knew that the government had such plans, and that's the government's bona fide to have plans and policies. But it is also our bona fide to protect our economic rights.
So let's make progress on the way forward. You have threatened a strike effective tomorrow. Is it that you have exhausted all forms of dialogue, trying to get government to either explain what the challenges are and how they intend to resolve it, or they've not given you any response, they've not given you an ear at all, for which reason you have taken this final decision of a boycott of your processes?
Okay, so rightly so, we have engaged government on numerous occasions. Unfortunately, all those engagements have not yielded fruits. And so this is also a legitimate action that traders and importers can take in protecting their economic rights. And that's what we have simply done. To say that if you will not give us a listening ear, we are just simply asking you to halt the running or the implementation of this Publican AI. Let us meet and have a proper conversation and fashion out the issues in there. If government is not going to listen to us, which clearly has been the case since this agitation started, an industrial strike is a legitimate action for us to take.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Obrieje, for this insight you've brought to the conversation. We'll monitor and see how the coming days play out. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
And that is Michael Obrieje, convener of the Coalition of Concerned Exporters, Importers and Traders, clearly justifying why they are asking their members to, effective immediately or effective tomorrow, boycott the services at the ports in the country. And they are raising concerns over the new Publican artificial intelligence tool, which according to them is overpricing the charges that they are expected to be paying as duties at the port. Joining us now on the other phone is Samson Awingobe Tasaki, who is the Executive Secretary, Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana. Mr. Awingobe, good evening. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, and good evening to your listeners.
I'm sure you are aware of this Publican artificial intelligence that has been introduced at the port and the concerns being raised as a result of this AI. What does your association have to say about the new system and the concerns being raised?
Well, I can tell you quite clearly that yes, Importers and Exporters Association is fully aware. We've been engaged, and government is continuing to engage. I want to use this opportunity to tell my colleagues from the other line that the best way to do as a responsible organizations and unions is to accept and go to the round table to discuss if there are issues. We think that government has come 1 year down the lane. The government has worked tirelessly to have the confidence of business. Business community have really made some savings in line of abolishment of certain taxes in the port, the COVID levy, the E-levy, the VAT, that used to be 21.9, has been reduced to 20%. The government came 1 year down. Customers were using 13 cedis in calculating duty exchange rate at the port. In 1 year down the lane, dollar was hovering at 14 cedis to 1, and government has worked hard tirelessly as we speak. Dollar is hovering lower. Custom is reducing lower rate at the port. These are all good work that the government has done. So if the government has done to utilize all these things, the government owes us a duty to also make sure that they collect the right for taxes and fees and charges to the development of this country. I have said that not because we are executives, associations, executives, so far we protect the interests of business community. We also owe a duty as a Ghanaian to make sure that we also encourage our people to pay the right for taxes and fees and charges to the country. So I think that their strike, it is a premature one. Government is not ignoring them. I don't think government said they are not ready to engage. In fact, even in the last 2 weeks or last week thereabout, when we had a meeting before I even travel, government was open up to say if you have any challenges, bring it up. BOEs, I myself have taken some BOEs of some companies and sent it to customs, and they work on it. At least as the program comes, in the first stage, definitely there will be some teething problem challenges. But they are working tirelessly to protect the system. So there will be parity in the system. So I think that my friends are acting premature. I don't think it is right, and you should not threaten government. Government has a responsibility to also protect the country. And so I don't know where their cry is coming from. Many people are paying their duties, and people are crying.
Sorry for cutting in, but the concern they've raised, it's not necessarily about the introduction of a system which, according to them, they really do not have a problem with. They rather are thinking or saying that the system in and of itself is making arbitrary charges. You are acknowledging that every new system could have some teething challenges which should be addressed. And because it is in the initial stages, yes, these challenges may come up, but then they need to be addressed. But they are saying that very little to no action has been heard from government side or from the authorities since they started raising these concerns, and they are thinking...
It's never true. We met, I was at a meeting with them. It is never true that the government didn't listen to them. And government, and that's why I said that out of that meeting, there was direction that was given that all appeals to not come to the Publican committee. What custom can handle it, customs to be able to handle it. And custom has been handled since then. And so if they have issues, they are relevant, they should send to custom. And I think that they've been working with custom for a very long time. It's not today that agents will say they don't know custom. They still know the custom has the power to work on it. I don't know. I can't phantom with them. I think I can't think far. If it's what they are calling us, and that is to suspend it, they should do what it is not. I don't think that I am in support that they should suspend the AI. I think government has a duty to collect revenue and taxes for this country.
Right, but what kind of impact do you think their boycott would have on the ports? These are traders, freight forwarders association, and for 4 days, if they do not go to more or less clear their goods or engage in port activities, what kind of
I would want to use this opinion to tell your listeners and importers that go and pay your duty to avoid demurrage and rent. This meaningless demonstration and sit-down strike will end you going to pay demurrage and rent at the port. Is that what importers want to do? If you are very responsible and you are a very compliant person, go and pay your duty and clear your cargo at the port. If your agent refuses to go and work, send the agents who are ready to work. There are agents who are ready to work. This we can't hold the country to ransom. And I think that the security operators should deal with anybody who wants to block anybody for not going to port to do his work. The security operators should deal with it. The government should take a firm decision and take action on anybody who blocks anybody for not going to the port to do his legitimate work. I think that's what I am calling for. I think importers cannot allow their cargo to be at the port to run tomorrow because unnecessary this premature empty trade that they are giving. These are empty trades.
Right. Finally, before you go, I mean, I'm sure the aim of this conversation is to find solutions to challenges.
And the government is ready. The finance minister is ready to engage them. And they know that the government is ready to engage them.
All right. So they should channel their grievances to the port authorities and through them to government so they get the right responses. Is that it?
Absolutely. If government refuses to listen to them, you will see me speak to it. It is the government that is opening up very down to earth from the president to the minister of finance. Very down to earth, government is willing to engage. And I think that, and those who are making 75% are compliant. 25% are deviant. They are not ready to be compliant. And these are the people. If you are not undercutting your declaration, if you are not declaring, why are they asking you to bring DOEs, relevant documents, i.e. bank swift transfers, and then invoices to confirm, and then you are running away. What do they have to hide? I think that this call is premature, and I think that this is a better call of their strike.
All right, thank you very much, Samson Saki Awingobit. Thank you for your time this evening. He is the Executive Secretary for the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana. If you are an exporter or you know someone who works within that sector, do send us a message on our social media pages. This bulletin is streaming on Facebook and on YouTube, so do let us know what you make of this development. And are you affected in any way by the introduction of the new AI system, the Publican Artificial Intelligence? The concern of this story is that from tomorrow, the Coalition of Trade and Freight Forwarders Association of Ghana, and I'm tempted to add the fact that the likes of the Coalition of Concerned Exporters, Importers and Traders have all decided to boycott port activities in protest against the introduction of the Publican Artificial Intelligence AI tool that has been brought to the port. The group says that the system is disrupting trade operations, increasing the cost of doing business, and causing significant financial losses for importers and clearing agents. So we will definitely keep our eyes on this particular ball and see where it ping-pongs to. You're listening to 3FM 92.7. This is Hot Edition. It is live from our studio here at Adisanwe Kanda in Accra. We are shifting our attention to education-related matters now. And the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, has issued a 14-day ultimatum to government to remove the Director-General of the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC, that is Professor Abdulai Jinapor, and his deputy. UTAG accuses the GTEC boss of overstepping his mandate by interfering in post-retirement contracts of lecturers, downgrading academic staff, and micromanaging university councils. Professor Vera Oge-Fiado is the national president for the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG. She's been engaging the media and has been speaking in this report.
Somebody bringing Toyota Vox.
The University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, says its 14-day ultimatum follows an earlier petition submitted to the President John Dramani Mahama in February this year, calling for the removal of the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission Director-General, Professor Abdulai Jinapor, over similar concerns. Although the presidency requested time to address the matter, UTAG says no concrete action has been taken. Addressing a news conference in Accra, UTAG's national president, Professor Vera Fiado, expressed frustration that the situation persists. UTAG further alleges that the Director General, Professor Abdulai Jinapor, has petitioned the Controller and Accountant General to downgrade a lecturer's salary, an action the association describes as an unfair labor practice.
UTAG further notes unilateral variation and selective implementation of negotiated conditions of service, including issues affecting research fellows and librarians on various campuses, promotion arrears, as well as salary clearance and payment delays for legitimately engaged staff. These practices undermine good faith collective bargaining, strain labor relations, and heighten the risk of avoidable industrial instability across the public tertiary education sector.
Professor Fiado reiterated UTAG's demand for the removal of Professor Abdulai Jinapor and his deputy.
The GTEC directives and circulars dated 30th September 2025 and 1st October 2025 will be withdrawn with immediate effect and subjected to structured stakeholder consultation and harmonization with existing legal frameworks and negotiated conditions of service. We also ask, fourth, that all existing post-retirement contracts entered into prior to the said directives be protected and allowed to run their full course without interference.
UTAG warns that the government has 14 days to act to safeguard industrial harmony across university campuses.
We are by this press statement, however, serving notice that if appropriate actions are not taken to satisfactorily address our demands within 14 days from today, we shall, upon further consultation with our rank and file, advise ourselves accordingly.
Right, so, well, we're staying on this subject now. Joining us on the line is Dr. Bernard Tutubuahin. He is the local vice chair, UTAG, University of Education in Winneba. Doc, a very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Good evening and thanks for having me, my brother.
Would I be right to assume that the voice clip we played of Professor Vera Fiado, who is the national president of UTAG, echoes the sentiments of all UTAG members? Is that a right assumption?
Good evening to your listeners. Yes, once NEC has taken that decision, and she is the head of UTAG, whatever communique that we put out there represents the voice of UTAG nationwide.
Right. So, so then my next question would be, what are the key issues that UTAG has with Professor Jinapor? Because from what we are hearing, they are asking for his complete removal from office within 14 days. Can you help us with maybe one or two issues he's done or decisions he's taken which clearly violates what UTAG expected?
All right, so you will see from the release, the document attached to the press conference, and we have indicated the issues clearly. We believe that the relationship between the regulator, that is GTEC, and the university community is supposed to be one that is engaging, one that involves consultation. And we are not expecting that the regulator, will put itself in a situation where, that relationship seems to be controlling rather than probably, having consultation. We are not expecting the regulator to be micromanaging, the affairs of universities in Ghana. We are actually expecting that the regulator will play its role as one that will set standards, as one that would have that kind of conversation that will lead to the protection, of the public interest, and for that matter, the interest of education in Ghana.
Right, Doc, you use the word micromanage. Is there an instance, or if you can cite an example of a moment when a decision from GTEC under Professor Jinapor has violated a specific component or shown an act of micromanagement of a public tertiary institution?
Yeah, so clearly we could see what actually happened at UCC in recent times. There has been situations with Brunel, and we believe that these are interferences that are actually defining, that concept of micromanagement, from the regulator, and for which we believe that such situations, it is better for, the highest, governing bodies within university should be able to handle them, rather than the regulator, interfering and imposing, powers where we think that the regulator is not supposed to, be. We believe that some of these things amount to the situation where we feel that the regulator is overstepping its bounds and boundaries. And we believe that we don't need to be doing these things where it would undermine, the standards within our public universities, and it will also truncate, to some level, the kind of academic work that we are doing.
Right.
So for us, it is not proper, for these things to be happening.
Okay.
And that is why I think that UTAG next, went, to this platform, to ensure that we are able to resolve the issue amicably.
Right. Now, talk to us about two final questions, then you can take leave of us. So, within the 14-day ultimatum, what is the expectation of UTAG? What should you expect to happen? Because this is not the first time that such a call has come for the current GTEC boss and his deputy to be sacked. I remember in the latter part of last year and even early part of this year, these calls were quite strong. We didn't hear much about it, and then it's resurfaced again. So within this period, what are the expectations of UTAG?
Oh, yes, obviously we expect that in this 14 days, the president would respond
us, because officially we have petitioned his office, and knowing that the president is a listening president, we believe that within these 4 2 weeks, the president is going to, as it were, probably invite us for discussion, or probably respond to the earlier letter that we submitted to his office, and probably take us to listen to us further and listen to our concerns and probably act within our concerns.
Right. And finally, have you, and you as in UTAG, have you weighed what kind of impact this will have on students and academic calendar if it actually does escalate to the level of, the advice UTAG is likely to give itself after the 14 days, which is likely to be a strike, either sit down or a total boycott? If that does happen, what kind of impact are you anticipating students might face, or the academic calendar might face?
We are parents. I mean, every lecturer, every teacher is a parent. And for us, our happiness and joy is when we are living with our students on campus and we are interacting with them. And so we wouldn't take a decision that would take that joy away from us. We love our students. We take the best of decisions that would not affect and probably truncate or probably defer their progress and development. We want to assure Ghana and to assure all parents that UTAG will look for the best and take the best of decisions that will move this country forward.
All right. We are grateful for your time this evening, Dr. Bernard Tutubuahin. Thank you for speaking to us. He is the local vice chair of UTAG, the University of Education, and Winneba, more or less endorsing the decision by UTAG National that the head of the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC, the Director-General that is, Professor Abdulai Jinapor, and his deputy must be sacked or removed from office. And within 14 days, if that does not happen, they will advise themselves. So, 14 days starts from today. Would count with them and see what response would be coming. Like they're saying, they're hoping that government within the next few days will call them or at least address the concerns they've raised in an earlier letter sent to the president. And if that concern or those concerns are addressed, they are confident that it would not have to escalate to the level where they would have to lay down their tools as university teachers. We would update you subsequently when we hear any new developments regarding this. You're listening to 3FM 92.7. Let's go from education to health now. And government says its implementation of the free primary health care will cost the taxpayer 1.1 billion cedis yearly. The government initiative will begin in 150 underserved districts across the country. This came to light when Health Minister Kwabena Minta-Kando threw more light on the rollout which would start from the 15th of April, which is this coming Wednesday. Let's listen to the Health Minister speaking during the media engagement.
The problem we have in Ghana is not availability of health professionals. That's not our problem. So, by the grace of God, we have enough in the system who will help us to run this system. In fact, it's even a deliberate policy to even assist and facilitate some of them to even go and work outside the country. So our problem is not about the availability of health workers. That is not our problem. So we never even reflected on that because it's not our problem. If it is not broken, you don't fix it. So it's not something we must contemplate on. So you realize that from time to time, and one of my PAs came to show me a video about somebody who was accusing me that I had said we wanted a space to employ before we can employ. You know, you realize that from time to time, government facilitates some people to leave the country. So they create physical space, not vacancies. So the space here is not a vacancy. It's a physical space. Because look, the truth of the matter is that we can only employ what we can pay. It's not as though we don't have the vacancies. but we have a country to govern at the end of the day. So if I go and sit in cabinet and I say, oh, I need free primary health care, then they give me. I want to recruit health professors, then they will give me. I need Mahama care, then they will give you. Regional hospitals, they will give you. Why? Am I the only ministry? No. So at some point in time, we have a country to govern, and that is a reality. You may not be happy with it, but I'm sorry, that's a reality. We've done the costing, and we need not less than 1.2 billion Ghana cedis a year to be able to run this. So we've done the costing. So if you want by month, you can divide by 12 and you get a figure. So it's not an ad hoc program or project. We've thought through it, we've engaged widely, we've done our projections, and we know what we are doing.
Yeah, the health minister, who also says that they are unaware that family planning commodities donated by the by the United Nations Population Fund, UNPF, had remained at the Tema port since August 2024, describing the situation as unfortunate. Speaking during the engagement, the minister indicated that he had assumed the supplies meant to support reproductive health services and prevent stockouts across health facilities had long been cleared. He disclosed that the director responsible has been queried and assured development partners and the public that steps are being taken to immediately resolve the delay and prevent a recurrence.
The issue about lock-up containers at the port, you all know my position on those things. And so since I took office as a minister responsible, you can find out. This is the first time you are hearing of a container being locked at the port uncleared. And that was somewhere in 2024. But unfortunately, this beat my radar. And so I thought it had already been cleared. And so the officer in charge has even been queried because he hit a snag and he was supposed to come back to me. And I always tell my directors, when I give you a responsibility and you hit a rock, please come back. But the good news is that the action has been expedited on it for the clearing of it. And I can assure the country that we'll do whatever it takes because we want more donations. And once they come and it comes to my attention, we'll clear them on time. So anybody at all listening to me, if you want to bring us Ghana, some items, you just need to come and consult the ministry and you consign it to the ministry. Once you consign it to the ministry and they come, we will clear them for you. So this is, I think, the first case I've heard of since I assumed office as a minister, and we'll expedite action on it.
And that is Kwabena Minta Akando, who is the minister in charge of health in Ghana. Let's go to the phone lines now. Austin Ernest Ochin Amoabeng is chairman of the Global Fund CCF Ghana. Good evening, sir. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, hello. Good evening.
The minister in charge of health says that he was actually quite surprised by the fact that some containers at the port had not been cleared, containers that had been donated to the country, which had, family planning commodities. And on the back of him being made aware of that, he's taking immediate action to try and clear it. What do you make of this answer to that question that was raised and asked to the minister?
All right. Thank you very much, and very good evening to your listeners. Just a little correction. My designation is Vice Chair of the CCM of the Global Fund, not the Chair.
Thank you.
All right. So I think it's positive news that the minister has acknowledged that this is quite unacceptable, and he has assured the nation that he is taking steps to address it. I think that firm assurance is very important. He has openly admitted it, and he has indicated that they are going to work to address it. Maybe what he did not give was a timeline. If you are giving timelines, that would have helped us, so that we'll be able to hold him to the timelines that he proposed.
And he also, on the back of the timelines you raised, we know that since August 2024, was how long these items had been at the port. Between then and now, should we be concerned about the efficacy of some of these items that were in the containers? Maybe by now some may have expired or very close to expiration. Is that a legitimate concern to have?
Certainly so. It is a legitimate concern to have, because if for over 2 years we have these particular commodities at the port, then it is not the best of situations. So definitely we should be concerned about the efficacy of some of these commodities at the port. And what I would like to say is that I think we should not be adopting an ad hoc approach to this particular issue of partners donating items to us and we allowing them to rot at the port. I will plead with government. We need a comprehensive framework that addresses how we will be dealing with such donations from partners. I understand that previously there used to be a blanket waiver for these commodities, but unfortunately those waivers were abused. And so when the last government came to office in 2017, they decided to abolish that blanket waiver and introduce a new regime, which unfortunately also has not helped, because that is what is contributing to all these situations where we have commodities getting stuck at the port. So it's very important that government revisits the matter, comes up with a comprehensive framework that deals with how these commodities should be cleared once they are donated. For example, if there is a particular office or a particular desk designated for such issues, then when these commodities come up, we will know who to contact. At the moment, there is a complete black box. You don't know who to contact. So you complain to the ministry, sometimes they listen to you, sometimes they don't listen to you, and you don't know where to go.
Right. And since this seemed to be a recurring problem or challenge, what would your advice be to the minister? He has asked that these kinds of assistance are very important for Ghana's entire health value chain. So he is actually asking for more of such global support to come in. But when these items do come in, getting them out of the port, it becomes the bottleneck. What advice would you give to the minister who is listening to us at the moment regarding the prevention of such a thing happening again?
All right, thank you very much. So that's what I mentioned earlier, that we need a framework that comprehensively addresses this particular issue. The last time we had this issue escalated in 2024, a committee was established to deal with this issue. Unfortunately, the committee was a one-sided committee. It had only representatives from government officials. For example, Ministry of Health, Ghana Health Service, Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority, GRA, and all of that. Civil society did not get representation on that committee. The development partners who also give us these commodities did not get representation on this committee. So I would advise or suggest to the minister that if they want to address this issue, they need to have a multi-sectorial committee that will be looking at the issue, so that it will not only be the public servants alone, but then entities outside, like civil society, like the partners who denote them. All of these will be part of that particular committee or group or whatever framework they come up with, so that there will be early prompting when these commodities come in.
We thank you for making time to speak with us this evening, Mr. Otin Amoabin.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And he is the Vice Chair of the Global Fund, CCF Ghana. And His name is Austin Ernest Otin Amwabing. This is 3FM 92.7. We are turning our attention to that very unfortunate news we heard earlier today having to do with a pastor who has been arrested for allegedly attempting to bury a live baby. Let's get into the details now. A pastor has been arrested for allegedly attempting to bury a 5-month-old baby alive at Abofrim in the Echumampunya district of the Ashanti region. The suspect, Apostle Dr. Richmond Akwesi Frimpong, head pastor of the Anointed Grace Prayer Ministry at Kufua Camp, was apprehended following the incident, which has left residents in shock. An eyewitness, Winfred Agba, says that he spotted the pastor and an accomplice at a refuse dump at around 11 p.m. holding the baby under suspicious circumstances. In a moment, we'll speak to our correspondent, William Evanzinkum, who has been following this story for us and to help us get a better and further perspective of what exactly this means and what the community is doing at the moment, what kind of reactions they are, expressing as a result of this news of a pastor who has been arrested. The point is that he was headed to a site to go and bury a 5-month-old baby, and some residents who saw him in a suspicious mood decided to accost him, and that is what led to his arrest. William Evanzinkum has joined us. He's following this story for us. William, good evening. Thank you for joining us. So give us an idea of where the pastor is at the moment and what really transpired. Where is the baby as well?
Well, Martin, I understand the pastor is with the BBNE police station or police command together with his uncle. That is the information I have at the moment. He was arrested on Saturday. The incident actually occurred midnight Saturday. He was arrested in the morning and was taken to custody, assisting police with investigation. So that's a bit of information I have at the moment.
Do we know the parent of the baby? Is the baby for the pastor?
That one hasn't been established yet. Even according to some of the members of the community, especially one principal witness we spoke to, they saw the pastor with the baby, but they were unable to tell whose baby the pastor was carrying to the cemetery. So yes, the parents of the baby is yet to be established. But what we have been able to establish is that a pastor had attempted to bury a baby alive, and he was exposed and then arrested. That is what we can establish, at least from 2 eyewitnesses. One, of course, the principal witness who goes by the name Winfred, whom we spoke to in the morning. That was Saturday morning. In fact, he told us that he was among the very first people who got to the scene or witnessed the pastor allegedly trying to bury a baby alive. And Winfred had this to say.
Well, Evans, we would bring that to our listeners in subsequent bulletins, but it's quite a very sorry situation. And finally, before you leave us, and briefly, what's the mood like in the area where this happened?
Well, shock, because many are attributing it to ritual killing or an attempted ritual killing. That is what they are saying because of, the ship, if I should put it that way, because attempting to bury a baby alive is something that they could only liken it to a potential ritual killing.
Thank you so much, William Vivazinkum, for that update on this unfortunate and sad story of a pastor who has been arrested in Achimampunya district, specifically a town called Abofrim, where he was seen with a 5-month-old baby, and the news is that he was arrested because the residents or the eyewitnesses say that he was attempting to bury that baby, a 5-month-old baby, and he's currently in the grips of the police. Would follow the story closely and update you subsequently. This is 3FM 92.7. We've been coming to you live from our studio here at Adesawe Kanda in Accra. The big stories we brought to you this evening had to do with the boycott of port services, which is likely to take effect from tomorrow for the next 4 days because of the introduction of a new AI system at the port. The importers, exporters, and traders are raising concerns about the fact that this new system actually does charge them arbitrarily. So they are hoping that government will step in to do the needful. Also, we brought you the story of the National Association of Teachers, the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, asking for the sacking or the removal of the GTEC Director-General, that is Professor Abdulai Jinapor. They say that he's been taking arbitrary decisions and overstepping his bounds, so the president should step in. He has a 14-day ultimatum to either remove himself or be sacked, or they will advise themselves as university teachers. What does that story hold? Stay with us. We'll update you subsequently when we get updates on it. And then the very latest also having to do with the fact that a pastor has been arrested, which was the final story we brought to you this evening. If you go to our website, 3news.com, you get updates of all these stories and more. My name is Martin Asiedu-Dartey. This has been Hot Edition. Thank you very much for listening. Bye for now.